everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. Pay attention to your government. Now more than ever, they are trying to start a war, and it is not going to be a good war. The United States has this idea that just because it spends $1 trillion on its military, that it can get away with anything. We are isolated in the world. We cannot get away with anything. So, just follow my thinking. As you know, there was a sarin strike in Syria that killed 70 people. So, this is The Guardian. Moscow, Bashar al-Assad's principal backer in the war, said the Syrian government had bombed the rebel-run toxic gas manufacturing plant in Khan Shaykhun, and the gas had subsequently leaked out. The Guardian, the first Western media organization to visit the site of the attack, examined a warehouse in silos directly next to where the missile had landed and found nothing but an abandoned space covered in dust and half-destroyed silos. Residents said the silos had been damaged in air raids 6 months ago and had stood unused since then. Chemical strike. Moscow lied for Syria, saying, oh, they just hit a silo that had gas in it. Those gas have been emptied for 6 months. Those silos have been emptied for 6 months. Witnesses said the air raid began shortly at 6:30 on Tuesday with 4 bombings around town. Initially, they thought it was just another airstrike until the first responders who arrived to the scene began falling to the ground. People describe a scene of utter horror of the attack. The wounded were shaking and convulsing on the ground, foaming at the mouth, their lips blue, passing in and out of consciousness. I found children lying on the ground in their last breaths, their lips going blue, said Abu Abar, who lived nearby and rushed to help when the full extent of what happened dawned on him. Standing across the street from the crater left by the missile, he added, people on the rooftops and in the basements, people on the ground and in the streets, wherever you looked, they were dead human beings. While medical workers were trying to come to grips with the crisis, between 8 and 10 airstrikes targeted the medical facility and civil defense center. The shed collapsed on the dead, and the site was put out of service. So this is what took place last week, or a few days ago. Now the response of the surface. Donald Trump. When Donald Trump first got into office, his thing was, yeah, we're not going to get into these conflicts. I just want to focus on America first. I want to be friends with Putin. I want to make friends with Assad because I want to be able to go into, I don't necessarily want American forces invested in that particular region of the world, and ISIS is more important. That is not the line he's towing now. Donald Trump has just described the chemical attack in the Idlib province, I'm pronouncing that badly, I'm sorry, which killed more than 7 people as an affront to humanity, but offered little clue as to any new strategy to end the violence in Syria. The U.S. president said the Tuesday's attack, whose victims included women, children, and babies, had affected him profoundly and transformed his thinking about Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. I will tell you that the attack on children yesterday had a big impact on me. Big impact, Trump said at the White House. My attitude towards Syria and Assad has changed very much. Now you're talking about a whole different level. When asked if the chemical weapons attack on Shaykhun had crossed the red line, Trump said, it crossed the ladder lines for me. When you kill innocent children, innocent babies, little babies, with a chemical gas that is so lethal. People were shocked to hear the gas it was. Can't believe this child is in the White House. This crosses many, many lines, beyond red lines, many, many lines. This is embarrassing. This is really embarrassing. Pressed whether he would consider military intervention to remove Assad, the U.S. president replied, I'm not saying I'm doing anything one way or the other, but I'm certainly not going to be telling you militarily. I don't like to say where I'm going and what I'm going to do. I love this part. Theresa May, currently in Saudi Arabia, said the UK will call for the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons to investigate. I'm very clear there can be no future for Assad in a stable Syria, which is representative of all Syrian people, and I call on all third parties involved to ensure that we have a transition away from Assad. We cannot allow this suffering to continue You know, I'm always amazed how the rest of the world jumps to their feet when something else happens to somebody else. I mean, essentially something else happens that they don't particularly like. So, just to put this in perspective, Donald Trump is aggrieved by this. Theresa May is aggrieved by this. Everybody is upset about this. The very first raid that Trump took when he took office killed 30 people, including women and children that he loved so much. I don't understand why Theresa May was okay with Donald Trump killing all those people and murdering the people he's been murdering on all these air raids and these drone strikes. But the 70 people in that raid that killed all those people, that's somehow worse? Why is gas worse than a bomb? If he's going to kill thousands of people during this term, and I'm going to continue with the story, but maybe even more based upon the way this is going. I don't understand why Theresa May is not all that hopped up saying, hey, we need to stop America from murdering all these civilians. They've been killing civilians left and right. They don't say that. They jump to their feet when there's a chemical strike that they believe that the Syrian government has done. But when America does these murders over and over again for years, thousands, they're silent. This stuff just rings hollow to me. It's like, yes, theater. You don't like Assad. That's great. I don't like Assad either. But I don't like people being murdered even by my own government. I don't necessarily give a shit what government is doing it. So Nikki Haley comes out. Nikki Haley warned Russia it cannot escape responsibility for the attack, addressing the Security Council. She said it was clear that Assad, Russia, and Iran had no place in peace. Guys, you do not want to go this route. I'm telling you. Wednesday, Haley suggested that it was the UN Security Council remained deadlocked on responding to war crimes in Syria. The United States might unilaterally act somehow to stop further chemical attacks by the Assad regime. That's fucking mental. That is absolutely mental. When the UN consistently fails in its duty to act collectively, there are times in the life of states where we are compelled to take our own actions. Your first time taking those actions, your party murdered 1 million people. You murdered 1 million people. That sniveling coward, Tony Blair, from Britain, in the same way Theresa May is up here, thumping her chest. I don't understand how you guys are this stupid, or you consistently hit your head on the same brick over and over again. Your bright idea is to essentially have unilateral action against Syria, who's being backed by a nuclear nation, Russia, who's going to be backed by Iran. That's your plan. That's your bright idea. Who's jumping on this bandwagon with you? Britain? Is Britain going to jump on the bandwagon with you? What do you think China is going to go with this? Trump has been antagonizing China for years. Not just antagonizing China. The TPP that Obama was pushing, that the Republicans were pushing, that the other Democrats were pushing, were literally going to create an us versus them mentality between China and Russia. I don't know if you remember, even in there was, I think it was 70-year end of the war, World War II, parade, a celebration in China, massive military display. Standing right there beside the leader was Vladimir Putin. Whether these idiots realize it or not, the war that they're talking about, it's not just with Syria, Russia, Iran, it's also with China. You're going to fucking lose that war. You think that you can just be a bully to pretty much anybody, and that because you spend $1 trillion on the military, that you can do whatever you want. It does not work that way. Your experience is only with fighting lesser states. Let's be real. The United States doesn't attack anybody that could actually hurt it and that actually put bombs on this soil. You're about to now. You're about to now. Your president is about to start a nuclear war. So, just be aware, you voted him in office. Now, if you think this is fucking awesome, that he's going to get into a conflict with a nuclear nation, then that's great. Support your guy. If you think this is fucking mental, and that, yes, murdering people, 70 people with gas is absolutely horrible. Do you really believe, though, that gas is worse than being exploded with a bomb? What am I missing? Aren't you just as dead with the bomb as you are with the gas? Do you really believe that we've only killed 70 people in our airstrikes? Trump has killed more than 70 people just in the time he's been president. Put it in perspective. That's a war waiting to happen. And if he's changing his tenor, and if they're out there chest thumping in the same way they were doing with Iraq, if you thought the results of Iraq turned out awesome, you're going to love this. You're going to absolutely love this. All right, guys. Yeah, this is gross. This is bad. This is not good. I mean, part of the benefit of Trump was that he wasn't going to get into a war with Russia. That was part of the benefit. If that goes away, meaning if the relationship between Trump and Russia is done for, then understand, Democrats are not blameless in this. They've been running this line about Trump and Putin, Trump and Putin. Trump is having sex with Putin. Trump is having sex with Putin. We know it. We know it. We just need to keep investigating it. What is he going to do? What is he going to do? He's going to push back against the narrative. If he pushes back against the narrative, and he's looking for ways to assert himself, that he's his own man, that Russia is not, he's some stooge of Russia. Yes, the reports are ridiculous. No. There's no evidence to support what they're saying, or at least no real evidence to support what they're saying. But that doesn't necessarily stop a human being, a person, who believes he's being politically castigated, being tarred by something, to push back on the thing that he's being tarred against. That's just being a person. Does that have anything to do with the reason why he's adding Russia into the mix of this? I would imagine that if you have to attack Syria, by definition, you're going to have to attack Russia because they're standing side by side. My point to any of you, anybody who's looking at this and think this is an awesome idea, you've never been in a situation where you've had bombs landing on your soil. You've always been the one murdering people around the globe. That is a different animal. If that's the animal you want to deal with, pursue this course. You're going to lose this war. I'm telling you. You're not going to stand against all these nations. These nations aren't slouches. Yes, you're spending $1 trillion on your military, but that $1 trillion, you're being scammed. That's my point. You're being scammed. That money is going into people's pockets. It's not going into effectiveness, per se. There's a difference in those things. If you have a capitalistic culture, the point is profit. Not armaments, not wars and stuff like this. They're going to get into this conflict, and they are going to be stunned what it means to fight an actual war. And do you really want Donald Trump, even if you support him, do you really want that to be the guy who's going into a nuclear conflict with a bunch of other nations? Okay, good luck with that one. That's a horrible idea. That's a horrible idea. All right, guys. If you like the content, feel free to like, share, comment, and definitely Patreon to support the work. Thanks, guys.